Ladies and gentlemen, please make sure that your seatbelts are on. Head all the way back, because we're about to head into the Metaverse. Hold on, because it's going to be one hell of a bumpy ride. In this video, I'm going to tell you everything you need to know about the Metaverse and how actually it's going to be a lot bigger than you realise. And also, very importantly, how you might be able to invest in the Metaverse to make the most of your money. And finally, a warning for you just to be careful out there because all is not what it seems. So this topic has exploded because last week, Facebook announced that it's changing its name to Meta.
I am proud to announce that starting today, our company is now Meta.
A word that has its origins from the Greek being beyond or after. Mark Zuckerberg says that the company intends to bring people closer than ever before because, of course, over the last couple of years, we've been used to seeing lots of people in 2D on screens, which we've all gotten very used to. Combine Meta with universe, and of course, you get the Metaverse. Essentially, this means beyond everything. And in short, it's everything beyond the physical world that we know and into a more digital, virtual reality that you can experience firsthand. In Zuckerberg's mind, the next step of human evolution is to be in a digital world, interacting together in real life size, whether that's in space, on a digital golf course, or in a digital pub. Really here, the possibilities are endless. Whatever you can create, whatever you can think of in your mind, you could create, in theory, in the Metaverse. I can already tell you firsthand from being a bit of a gamer nerd myself, if you don't already guess from the computer behind me, but of course, having a go in the Oculus headset right here, and having a go in virtual reality, if you haven't already tried something like that, make sure you give yourself a go at one point. Maybe you'll even get one for Christmas if you're lucky, but really, if you haven't tried virtual reality before, your mind will be blown. And this is just the start. If you want to visualize the Metaverse, I think Steven Spielberg's interpretation of Ready Player One does a really good job of showing us what something like the Metaverse and something like our future might look like. In the movie, the world's been transfixed by a virtual simulation called the Oasis. People interact with this virtual world by putting on gloves and a headset to immerse themselves in this new digital world. In this world, you can be whoever you want, look however you want, go wherever you want, and the value of the platform is immense as people look to escape from the realities of life in the real world. If you're slightly older or you've not even necessarily heard about Ready Player One, the similar concepts can be found in films like The Matrix or even Tron, where of course we're going from the real world into a digital world, but we still experience it as if it's real, and our brains are completely transfixed into believing that what we're seeing and what we're actually feeling is better than real life. Now, just like the internet, the Metaverse is going to have a huge amount of value, and I think it's showing a lot of its potential already. Just think about this already. Think about how many virtual products already exist out there in the wild and how much money they've already made for their creators. All of those things which don't exist in the real world have nothing physical to touch, but really are just some pixels on a screen. Whether it's paying for new skins in games like Fortnite, new players in Call of Duty, or unlocking special power-ups in Candy Crush, we really are just scratching the surface with what's possible in the Metaverse. And we're not just talking a few pounds here or a few dollars a time of these purchases. Some of these purchases in the virtual world have been absolutely astronomical. One of the biggest ever purchases in the virtual world was an entire planet bought for $6 million in a game universe called Entropia. And in more recent times, you may have heard of games like Counter-Strike where people buy and sell weapon skins for hundreds, even thousands of dollars, depending on their rarity. Okay, so we know there's going to be lots of ways to make money in the Metaverse and people are going to sell a whole lot of different things. But how can we as individuals get in there early and potentially make some money and invest in the Metaverse? Well, just think of this. We've seen companies like Nvidia increase their bull run just after that name change. So this should give us a kind of hint to all the companies that we need to be looking out for. In order to sustain and create those virtual worlds, we are going to need lots of physical infrastructure here in the real world. So here are a few things we need to look out for in companies we might want to invest in so we can get a slice of that action. We're going to need a hell of a lot of processing power here, so think about companies that make chips, of course anyone who makes central processing units, CPUs, but more importantly it's going to be in the graphics chips and those GPUs, so companies again like we've already mentioned, Nvidia, Intel, AMD, TSMC. Think of all the different manufacturers, of course, of the different hardware that you'll need to enter the Metaverse. So as we know already, Facebook bought the rights to Oculus, but think of those chip makers inside, all of those little bits and bobs and components. So companies like Sony, Microsoft, everyone will want a piece of this and everyone has their equivalent of getting into creating their own virtual digital Metaverse. And outside of all the physical hardware, just think of the amazing possibilities that will happen inside of the metaverse, and all the digital creators, all of the software engineers, all of the writers, the creators who will create these amazing products, whether that's a digital mansion, boats, cars, apparel, trainers, you name it, it will be in the game somewhere. Hey, and don't forget, finally in the metaverse, you'll probably have somewhere to display your lovely NFT artwork that you spent all of your hard-earned Ethereum on. Finally, you'll have somewhere to display it. And also, just thinking outside of the box here for things we can invest in, it won't necessarily just be the tech companies who'll have a big slice of this pie. Any big player in the real world who has items and things that people want will be able to license their products in the metaverse. Just think of companies like Nike, Adidas, for example. There'll be probably exclusive trainers, exclusive apparel that you can buy for your avatar in the metaverse. And just think, for example, already you've had some big name brands like Balenciaga work with the Fortnite crew to create overpriced, stupid skins for your characters in game. But hey, it's 100% profit margin, there's no stock to take, so these guys are going to make a hell of a lot of money from this. So maybe think about all those companies who have opportunities to sell you stuff in the metaverse. Coming to a store near you, buy one physical polo shirt and get a virtual one completely free. It's a free idea for you. Not to mention all the virtual sports, concerts and games. I was speaking to an industry insider just a couple of weeks ago who's working on exactly this. Just imagine watching your favourite team in the best seats possible as if you're there. What we're doing right now is just scratching the surface. Being able to experience all of this from the comfort of your own home, being in some of the biggest stadiums available and watching all of your teammates, even things like being able to experience football, for example, maybe from the player's eyes or from the player's perspective. All of these things are coming. Being able to change your position, for example, in the stadium when your teams change half, being able to all go behind the goal when the other team is shooting a penalty or something like that. Just think of the possibilities, the endless possibilities that can happen in the metaverse.
So it's up to us to go digging around for answers on our own. And here is where I'd like to start.
And then finally, just from a separate angle, just think about how payments might be processed, how they might want to integrate into the blockchain and potentially cryptocurrency too. So think about these new disrupted digital payment processors, companies like Square, for example, and then how the blockchain might secure some of the digital items that you've purchased, as we spoke about earlier, and then maybe how you can transition them over to the different platforms within the metaverse to make sure that they're always secured and always owned to you. I think we're very likely to see some new currencies brought out from the winning providers or whoever kind of owns that underlying metaverse platform to bring out some new currencies, maybe even a new blockchain, or to maybe leverage the Ethereum blockchain or the Bitcoin blockchain somehow to make sure that all the purchases can be secured and no one needs to own a central ledger. I think there's going to be a whole mix of things going on. Who's going to win and who's going to be in the lead? No one knows. Truly though, imagine what can happen in the metaverse, and you'll probably get to the point where you don't even want to bother leaving your house because you can't be asked to go join a queue at the airport to go somewhere else around the world. And actually, you can already do that if you had an Oculus headset. Just go on Google Maps in VR, and then you can go to wherever you want and fly around. There's no queuing at the airport and there's no worrying if someone loses your bags or not. Hey, as far as I'm concerned, I've already scaled Everest on that thing, so there's no need to even go now. I've done it. Okay, maybe not quite that. So while that all sounds rosy and there will be some amazing investment opportunities, just watch out because I think there's going to be some major losers here too and some big downsides. Just like in the dot-com bubble, I think over the next decade there's going to be dozens, if not hundreds of different companies created, some of them who may even go public, and they'll generate hundreds of millions of dollars of investor revenue probably before they've even made any kind of profit at all. They'll come in with amazing promises and amazing possibilities of how much they're going to make and how much potential they're going to have. And in the end, I think most of them will fail. Just like any other industry as it's being created, there'll be lots and lots of companies, but eventually there'll only be a few different winners. And when we compare that to what happened in the dot-com bubble, we do think about companies like Amazon, but then also we think about companies like Pets.com, others who didn't make it, but still received millions and millions of dollars of investment, but never made it out the other end. So what we're trying to look for here are the individual winners, but be careful because I think a lot of people are going to lose a lot of money on some very big promises which never actually come to reality. There'll be massive fights to try and have the best metaverse, to try and have that best platform, to try and be that entry point into the metaverse. There'll be multiple metaverses which will compete with each other, I've got no doubt about that, but eventually we'll probably standardize on one or two, or we may even standardize on one metaverse, but with different portals and different areas, who knows. Just think of companies like Tesla in the electric vehicle world. They don't necessarily make the best quality cars, but what they do in the back end is have the best infrastructure and the best platform to build upon. They have the most charging stations in the world, which means that when you're going out to choose an electric vehicle, and those things are really, really important when you're going out to buy a new car. So the same thing will happen when you're deciding which metaverse you want to go in, which provider you might want to use, who has the best features, who has the best apps, who's got the best places to go, the most activities, who's the lowest cost. There'll be loads of these considerations, but only really a couple of winners. And as mentioned before, the big winners are going to be the people who fundamentally own that bottom level platform, who power that network. Those who own the platform, who allow other people to develop on it and control the payments and licensing, will make an absolute fortune. And as mentioned before, these companies will have profit margins like nothing you've ever seen before. All software, nothing physical to worry about, and super low overhead costs. There'll be a huge amount of hype, I can already see it happening, but make sure as an investor you keep a cool head, otherwise you'll end up losing your mind, losing a lot of money, so just be careful out there when these things take off. So what's next for the metaverse? Well, I think we are heading to a world where there will be a virtual world very much separate from the physical world, and there will be a point, I think, when you can't actually tell whether you're in a virtual world or whether you're in a physical world. And in fact, of course, it'll be better to be in that virtual world because you'll experience many more things and be able to go wherever you want, and the possibilities will truly be endless. This also reminds me of another film called Surrogates with Bruce Willis, where people actually never even leave their homes. They just sit in these chairs, and of course everyone has their digital android which they go out and enjoy the world. Now, it doesn't necessarily end so well like that, but I think we are heading toward a world where potentially you have your own digital avatar, where you nearly have your own android, where you're going out into that digital world and experiencing some amazing things. Just think of things like racing games where you think you're in an F1 car but without taking any of the risks involved, being able to fly planes without worrying about fuel, or fighting zombies. I mean, trust me, this one's pretty funny and pretty scary when you get a virtual reality headset on and you've got a zombie coming at you and you actually feel like he's about 7 foot tall and he's about to get to you. But anyway, everything will be possible in this industry. Keep a close eye on it. Honestly, it won't be long before we hear some ludicrous purchases that someone's made in the virtual world, just like we hear every other week in the NFT market. But you know what? I think just like in the gold rush, the real winners are going to be the people that sell the pickaxes and the shovels, rather than all the people that are going to rush straight to try and find the gold. Anyway, if you've enjoyed the video, don't forget to drop me a nice big like, subscribe for many, many more. I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks so much for watching, and as always, happy investing.